Greetings, upstanders. Dr. O here, and I gotta say, as somebody who's been teaching on university campuses for almost 20 years now, I find it really problematic the way that conversations about free speech and debates and liberal college versus, all of this, Republicans can't have their voices heard. It's extremely frustrating because it's extremely one-sided. The fact of the matter is, whether we're talking about Harvard, whether we're talking about Columbia, whether we're talking about any of these schools across the United States, the fact of the matter is that these liberal institutions are not as liberal as they are made to be, or they're made to look on television. It's just not the case. People are neglecting so many different students and the experiences that they are having. Why don't you go back a couple of years and just go on, Twitter or all of these other platforms and just hashtag, black at, and then pick the school. So like hashtag black at Harvard, hashtag black at Columbia, hashtag black at Georgetown. And you see all of the stories of racism, and that spun off other categories: Muslim at, Hispanic at, Asian at, and all of these different groups are talking about the experiences of racism and discrimination that they have had to deal with, whether it's from other students, whether it's from professors, whether it's from policies of the administration. And many of these issues are still going now. You see Columbia just caved to the Trump administration over the issue of anti-Semitism, but it is doing nothing to combat the racism that black students are experiencing right now at Columbia University and have been for years. There's all of this conversation about schools need to do more to protect anti-Semitism. Are you serious? The fact of the matter is that anti-Semitism is real on college campuses. There's no doubt about it. There's no question about it. Islamophobia is also an issue on campus. Racism, homophobia, all of these different issues. If you want to target, the best way to target one is to target them all, not put people in a position where you feel like this group is a protected group. Sending Jewish students back to campus as a protected class, basically having a system of second-class students on campus, is ridiculous. At Columbia, they're going to hire people who guards now who have arrest power. Who do you think is going to be getting arrested more? Either people who are protesting for Palestine or people who are looking like me just walking across campus at any time of the day. So you want to tackle anti-Semitism. You want to have interfaith dialogues. You want to tackle anti-Semitism. You want to have conversations about the groups that are all feel like they're being targeted and disrespected. After the horrific events of October 7th happened, I had one of my students, a Muslim student. She was just like the kindest student ever, like kindest person ever. So thoughtful. And she came into my classroom, into my office hours, and she said, you know what, given she was talking about things she was experiencing on campus herself and in society overall, she said, I'm ready to die. Who says that? She's not even 20 years old. Who says that? This is a freshman, right? And so my point is that there are Muslim students who have been shot, the Brown University students, one who was paralyzed. And of course, we have a Palestinian American 6-year-old kid who was stabbed to death as well, I believe, in Michigan. So the fact of the matter is that anti-Semitism is real. I have Jewish students who have told me so many stories, even stuff they've experienced before they got to the college level. But you don't pick out one group and say that this is the group that we're going to save at the expense of everybody else. Furthermore, it is factual that the Trump administration is an anti-Semitic administration. They have anti-Semites as part of their administration. They embrace anti-Semitic people like Nick Fuentes, and they have people like former guy who I don't call Department of whatever. I don't call it what Elon Musk called it because it wasn't a real department. It was in Trump's administration where his advisors were giving 2 Nazi salutes that people wanted to call an awkward gesture. It's Steve Bannon, one of his top advisors, though not officially in the administration, who said that American Jews are the problem. We could run down the list, and the anti-Semitism coming out of his administration is something like we've never seen in an administration, or we haven't seen, I should say, in years, in terms of the direct anti-Semitism that's taking place. So we have to have a real conversation about that. And when people talk about, Harvard is, Then people want to talk about this idea of, well, people who are conservative and, can't express themselves in the classroom. I know people in classrooms who are pro, let's say, Black Lives Matter, who feel like they can't express themselves in the classroom. People who have come in wanted to talk about things like George Floyd or something like that. And prefer, and look, I speak at schools all across the country, so I'm not singling out one school here. This is part of my job. Who want to come and speak about things like George Floyd and be told by professors, oh, we're not talking about that today. This happens. This happens. Or students who are Muslim who want to talk about what's happening in other parts of the world, even outside of Palestine, and people being told we're not going to do that. So this idea that these institutions are liberal, that they're welcoming to all opinions, it is absolutely not true. And the fact of the matter is, it never has been. And I'm talking about undergrad, I'm talking about graduate programs, I'm talking about all of it. So, some of these schools that proclaim themselves to be so liberal, I'm still waiting to see it, because certain perspectives are still not being welcomed. And really, at the end of the day, look what happened to former President Gay at Harvard University. Are we ready to have that conversation? So, look, you all who know me and watch me and do the work that I do, you know that I'm always speaking up about ending anti-Semitism. But one of the main ways you do it is that you bring people together. You acknowledge all of the hurt and the hate and the pain that different groups are feeling, and you work together to end it and to stop it. But you can't do that when you have schools saying they're going to get rid of all of their DEI programs. They're going to get rid of all of their anti-racism programs. They're going to get rid of all of their things that help make students feel comfortable, to help make faculty feel comfortable, except the programs for Jewish people. That is going to backfire. And even in the Harvard University case, the judge in that case, who is Jewish, she's like, what is taking money from Harvard research facilities on cancer? What does that do to stop anti-Semitism? Lawrence Tribe, been teaching at Harvard Law School for over 50 years and says, and is Jewish. It's like this one does not have to do with the other. And everybody can acknowledge that anti-Semitism is real. But this is only going to lead to more hate and more disrespect towards them, and it's going to lead to more groups on campus feeling like they are being ignored and disrespected. And clearly, that's what's happening. How hard is it to target Islamophobia? How hard is it to target? So these schools, they can't do anything to protect their LGBTQ students because that's DEI. They can't do anything to have anti-racism in a time where hate crimes is on the rise and Trump is getting rid of all types of civil rights actions in terms of including investigating officers and police who are part of neo-Nazi and racist groups that are infiltrating law enforcement. You can't talk about that. Of course, the ban on trans people, basically they want all trans people basically dead, it seems. They want them all gone, and just ostracized. You can't talk about that. Look what's happening at George Mason. Look what happened at UVA. They got rid of that president. Look what's happening at George Mason University. They're trying to get rid of that president because of a task force on anti-racism. So you want to get rid of all of that, but claim falsely that you really want to protect Jewish students. Jewish scholars I know, Jewish individuals who I know also do not like this because it puts a bigger target on their backs. And that's the last thing that community needs. It's the last thing that any community needs. So Columbia caved. Columbia paid up $200 million to get $400 million. They are getting rid of their any DEI work that they had. My daughters are planning colleges this year. Columbia was a thought a while ago. It's definitely not anymore. So they're just getting rid of people. And look, some of these schools, these students are going to be transferring. They're going to be leaving. So Columbia and other universities are going to be losing a lot of their incredible talent. And a lot of people who would have come there are not going to be interested. So I'm just going to close with this. Share let me know what you think. But this idea of an administration that is rife with anti-Semitism from top to bottom, saying that they're going to punish schools in every way, shape, or form to protect Jewish students and stop anti-Semitism is comical at best, but it's dangerous at worst because they're lying and they're using Jewish students as a scapegoat. And as one rabbi I heard say, anytime Jewish people are scapegoated in any way, shape, or form, it never ends well. So let's not scapegoat anybody. Let's work to build communities where everybody can be celebrated and not tolerated. And let's have a full-throated discussion and look at ways that we can help all students who are being targeted. I can't remember the last time I heard anybody talk about sexual assault on campus and sexual violence on campus. And now what schools have to get rid of that as well. They have to get rid of mental health services for students who may want to consider suicide. which I've also have to deal with in terms of students at universities I speak to. This is real. All of that's got to go. All of that's got to go. If you don't do what the Trump administration says that you want to do, we are sacrificing our students for the sake of a false greater good. And all students, Jewish, Muslim, Black, Asian, Christian, Catholic, run down the list, are all going to suffer because of it. And we need to call this administration's bluff, and these schools need to have a stronger backbone as it relates to making sure that they have policies that make all of their students feel like they belong. And when they mess up, as they have them in many cases for all students, they need to do the work to be better. But right now, they're just demonstrating cowardice. What do you think? Peace.